Hey everybody, this is Will H. the Cinephile, and welcome back to my channel. And even though I wrote a review on this on Letterboxd, but at the same time, um, I felt like doing two versions of this review, so I'm ready to get into it. So I'm just gonna say that as someone who isn't particularly fond of superhero movies, I never considered them to be true cinema. That said, Deadpool and Wolverine stands out as an exception in a way. Like, since getting my Blu-ray copy, I've found myself enjoying it, albeit in a way that's almost guilty pleasure-ish. Like, it's fun, but at the same time, it has flaws that bug me, particularly the lack of any distinctive style. Like Sean Levy, though a competent director in a way, doesn't bring in anything unique to the table. It feels very much like a studio-driven project, which detracts from the overall experience. Still, despite these shortcomings, I can't help but rate it 5 stars. Like, it's baffling, really. Like, like it's not flawless in the traditional sense, nor is it the perfect film I reserve 5 stars for. But there's something about it that works for me. Like, the action sequences are thrilling and engaging, and in my mind, this is as close to a true Deadpool movie as we can get in the modern superhero genre. Like, for someone who was once an X-Men fan and still treasures the comics, Deadpool and Wolverine carries a nostalgic energy, almost reminiscent of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe and Deadpool vs. Old Man Logan, two storylines I loved. And there's a chaotic energy, irreverent spirit to the film that resonates with the Deadpool I know from the comics. Like, the blend of humor, violence, and self-awareness makes this movie feel like a fitting tribute to those narratives, even if it doesn't entirely capture their essence. Like, when it comes to other MCU films, objectively, the character development is there, but I just don't feel invested in it the way I do with other films. Like, I find it hard to care about the characters in the MCU, and that's something I've struggled with for a long time, I should say. Like, movies like Infinity War and Endgame offer plenty of character growth, but it feels forced to me. Like, I'm supposed to care, but the emotions fall flat. And the entire experience often comes across as eye rolling, and the action in those films feels artificial, and the film editing leaves much to be desired. Like, those movies, for me, are tailored more toward younger audiences, and I just don't find them engaging anymore. Like, to me, they're meant for 12-year-olds and and hardcore comic book nerds. But as someone who holds cinema to a higher standard, I can't help but feel like they don't bring anything substantial to the table. Like, DP and Wolvie is different. For one, it's rated R, and it wears that badge proudly, delivering action that feels gritty and real rather than fake. Like, the violence is satisfying and the action sequences are intense and immersive. Like, it doesn't shy away from being gritty, and that gives it a level of authenticity the more mainstream MCU films lack, in my opinion. Like, the cameos, Johnny Storm, Elektra, Blade, Gambit, Lara X-23 are fun little surprises that add to the chaotic, larger-than-life world this movie creates. Like, like in terms of tone, I can see how it might not align with traditional cinema, but it works in the context of the film. Like, it's not a deep, highbrow narrative by any means, but it's a refreshingly straightforward one-off story. Like, you don't need to have seen a dozen other superhero flicks to understand what the hell is going on, which is something I appreciate. The writers, including Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy, do a good job making this feel like a self-contained, enjoyable adventure with just enough meta humor and self awareness to keep things entertaining without being too cynical. Like, I'm aware that I may come across as biased, especially since I generally don't enjoy superhero movies. But for me, this film stands apart. Like, it's fun, it's chaotic, and while it's not a cinematic masterpiece, it's a solid entry in the genre. Like, I appreciate the character interactions, the humor, and the way it pokes fun at itself and the superhero subgenre, but there's something captivating about it, even if I can't quite put my finger on it. But deep down, I know I shouldn't love this movie as much as I do, considering how much I've despised this subgenre. But I'm not a fan of the formulaic, recycled nature of many superhero films, nor do I find most of the action sequences in those movies to be thrilling, but they feel more like a marketing tool than actual cinematic storytelling. But this movie feels different. Like, it feels real. It feels like it belongs in the world of cinema in a way. Like, even if it's not exactly what I consider true art, but ultimately I can't deny that I love this movie. The character dynamics are strong, the humor is sharp, and the action is very, very satisfying. Like, while I may not fully understand why I rate this movie a 5 stars, but at the end of the day, I kind of don't care. Like, it's a fun ride, and for a film that in many ways shouldn't appeal to me, it somehow does. And this is by far the best superhero film I've seen in a while, but and I find myself caring about it in ways I don't do with the bigger Marvel blockbusters. Maybe it's the chaotic nature, the irreverence, or simply the fact that it doesn't try hard to be anything other than what it is. A fun, bloody, and surprisingly engaging romp through the superhero world. Like, in other words, it is not cinema in the traditional sense, but it's a hell of a good time, and that's what matters at the end of the day. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and also follow my letterbox and read my review of this film on letterbox. So, I'll see you in my next video, my fellow cinephiles.